Excellent. All right, thank you very much. So yeah, today, as you can see, we're going to talk a little bit about seller finance. And if you may have seen me at one of the boot camps, the business boot camps. What I'm going to go through today is a little bit of a refresher of what I did at the boot camp, but I'm going to go into a lot more detail. So some of the slides you may have seen before, but there's a lot more detail I'm going to go into, and we're going to field some of your questions as well. Because this is a strategy that's phenomenally powerful. You don't have to be just a vendor finance or seller finance investor like myself. It's something you can use as a tool to help you sell properties, help you buy properties without money, turn a negatively investment property to positive, buying houses without deposit, stamp duty, all that sort of thing. So it's a really interesting topic, and it's something that you can use no matter what sort of type of investing you're doing. What I want to get into before we get into the seller finance is just a brief I suppose outline of what seller finance is, and quite simply it's where the seller or the owner of a property is giving some sort of finance to someone to purchase that property from them. So basically there's three different types of seller finance in the marketplace. The first one is lease options, which I'm going to cover off quite extensively. And this is where you're leasing the property to someone, but you're also giving them the option to purchase that property from you for a particular time. It might be for a 3-year period. It's sometimes called a rent to buy or rent to own, because someone's renting the property, but they've also got the chance to buy it, to own it down the track. Dipner calls it a sort of house on lay-by, which is another really good way of thinking about it. And one of the other really good ones is try before you buy. A lot of people out there, you may have heard of radio rentals or retrovision, where you can rent a washing machine for, say, for 3 years. You make payments on it for $10 a week or whatever it might be, and at the end of the 3 years you've got the right to buy it for $1. Basically what we're doing is the exact same thing except with a house. So that's what lease option. I'm going to go into more detail what they are as well. The other one we've got here is installment sales or installment contracts. They were really, really popular, especially before the 1980s, before the banking system was deregulated. In fact, if you had a farm, this was pretty much the only way you could sell it. You had to give the finance to the new person that's going to buy your farm off you, because there was no banks that would actually lend on that. It's sometimes called vendor finance, wraps, terms contracts. It's basically where you're selling a property on an installment plan. So rather than someone paying you all the money up front, they're basically paying it off on a payment plan. It's very much where you become the bank for the purchaser, and they're paying the property off. And the last one here is deposit finance. For those of you who know the story of how Dipner got started, this is actually the strategy she used to buy her first investment property. So this is where the owner of a property is actually going to finance your deposit. So you might be able to get, say, an 80% loan from the bank, but you don't have the 20% deposit. So this is where you might say to the owner, look, I can give you 80% of the money now. The other 20%, can you finance that to me? Can you leave that in the property for me as a second mortgage? So you'd have one mortgage with the bank for 80% and a second mortgage with the owner of the property for that other 20%. So that's called deposit finance, sometimes called second mortgage carryback, or some now, some later, because you're paying some of the money now and some of it later. So there's sort of the broad concepts of what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to go into a lot more detail about lease options, but also show you an example of a transaction I've done using installment sale and deposit finance.